This is my planter box area where I'll be planting my fruit trees. I previously posted a video on how I built and prepped this area. You can find a link to that project at the end of this video. I'll be planting 6 trees in the last 2 boxes you see here at the top of this picture. This is my Spice Z Nectaplum. I recently purchased it along with a Cot-n-candy Aprium from an online nursery. They arrived as bare root trees. I don't have a picture of the Aprium, but it was about the same size as this one here. Each were standing at about 40 plus inches tall with about a trunk that was about 5/8 of an inch. The roots on both trees appeared healthy and well developed. They were packed in wood shavings that had been soaked in water. Before planting, I placed the trees in some water and allowed them to soak overnight. This is my Cathy Apricot. I purchased this tree from a local nursery in June of 2019. It came in a 15-gallon container. It's a mature tree, about 4 years old, so it should bear fruit this year. This is a Royal Blenheim Apricot. It too was purchased from a local nursery. This one was purchased in July of 2017. It came in a 15-gallon pot and it was estimated to be about 5 years old. This tree produced a really small harvest last season. It had several flowers, but only 5 reached maturity. I have to say that although it did not produce a large crop, the few that it did produce were the best tasting apricots I've ever had. They were average size with exceptional flavor. I'm hoping it will be more productive once it's planted in the ground. This is my Sazi King Nectarine. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I'll put the name on the screen. It was purchased from a local nursery in July of 2017. It came in a 15-gallon pot, estimated to be about 3 years old at the time of purchase. Before transplanting it to the planter box, you see here, it flowered the following year in 2018, but it failed to hold any fruit. Originally, my plan was to keep it in a planter, so I built this box for it. Shortly after transplanting it in January 2019, it produced several flowers, but it also failed to hold on to a good amount of fruit. Only about 5 managed to reach maturity. The tree did quite well in the planter box, and I'm sure had I allowed it to grow in the planter box, it would have produced a larger crop the following year. However, I decided instead to plant it in the ground. I'll most likely use this wooden planter box for a starfruit tree I have growing in a 15-gallon pot. And lastly, this is my Snow Queen Nectarine. I purchased this one a few months ago in June of 2019. It's about 5 years old and should bear fruit this season. Both of the apricot trees and Aprium were planted here in this planter box. The Aprium was planted in the front, and the Royal Blenheim in the back left, and the Cathy on the back right. They were planted around 16 inches apart from each other in a triangular shape. I removed the topsoil to expose the crown of the root ball. I then covered the exposed root ball with a mixture of perlite and worm castings. Since the Aprium was being planted as a bare root tree, I just made sure the crown of the root ball was slightly exposed when I planted it. I also sprinkled some mycorrhiza on the exposed roots for all trees before planting them in the ground. I planted the trees for the second planter box in the same manner. The spicy nectaplum was planted in front and both nectarine trees in the back. The Snow Queen is on the left and the Sauze King on the right. After planting, I spread some worm castings on top of the planting area. I only added a small amount of worm castings, about a cup for each area. I then added some wood shavings on top of the worm castings. I don't always use the wood shavings, I only use them when I have some on hand from the wooden projects that I have going on. I then added a layer of newspaper. Next, I placed some cardboard on top. And finally, I added a layer of wood chips. I'm hoping all this work will pay off and I'll have some good crops in the years to follow. Getting this area prepped for planting was a lot of work. I haven't decided on how I'm going to prune these trees. If they were planted several feet apart, I would have gone with the open vase method. However, since these are planted only 16 inches apart in high density 3-in-1 hole manner, I think central or modified central leader style will work best. It's early January, so trees are still dormant. I have a few more weeks to decide which method will work best. Whatever method I decide to go with, I won't allow them to grow too tall. I like to keep them at a height of about 6 to 8 feet, somewhere in between there, in that range. Both the Aprium and Nectaplum were planted in front because they are the youngest trees in the group. I don't want them shaded out by the bigger, more established trees. Planting them in the front will provide the most sunlight and give them a chance to catch up to the others in growth. The high density planting may make things a little more difficult, especially when it comes to pruning. It's going to be a lot more work to keep them at the desired height and shape, being that the trees are so close together. But it should have its advantages as well, especially when it comes to watering, fertilizing, and foliar feeding. With the trees spaced so close together, it should make things a lot easier. I have my trees on a timer, but occasionally I'll water them manually. Having them this close will certainly cut down on time. Also, fertilizing and foliar feeding will also be easier and will most likely use less per application since they are so close together. I'll keep you posted on their progress and let you know how things are going. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget to click on the links below to see how this planter box section was previously prepped for planting. Thank you for watching.